Adam here from the Walzer Automotive Group, and what I want to do today is compare a couple of EV vehicles. Now on the one side I've got the Chevrolet Blazer EV, and on the other side I've got the Mustang Mach-E. So we'll look at the interiors, the exteriors, and see which one might just be perfect for you. Let's begin by looking at the Mustang Mach-E. Now these have been out for a few years now, and there's a ton of different trim levels as well as different battery options when you're looking at the Mach-E. Now this particular one that we have here today is the E all-wheel drive, and this is the Select trim. But we're not just going to focus on this trim, we'll talk about the Mustang Mach-E in general. So at the Range Topic GT trim level, you can get up to 480 horsepower and a total range of 306 miles when properly configured. Now you can do a rear-wheel drive or an all-wheel drive model, and the Mach-E, like I said, there's so many different choices, whether it's the smaller battery or the longer range battery, but obviously if you opt for just the rear-wheel drive, you will get a little bit more range, where the all-wheel drive can cut that down a little bit. Now the Mustang Mach-E up front has these cool LED headlights and I think pretty great styling. There's also active shutters up front, which will help you get a little bit more range as well. Now there's a bunch of different drive modes, so if you're trying to focus on maybe keeping the eco side and keeping that battery going a little bit longer, or you want a little bit of sportiness and fun, that can be delivered in the Mach-E. Now the rear storage space is pretty good in this one. Now this one doesn't have a power liftgate, but when you open the back, you can actually fold the seats down too, but you have quite a bit of range and lots of usability inside. But before we jump in this one, let's hop over and check out the Blazer EV. Now this is the Blazer EV, and this is in the RS trim. Now we won't focus just on the RS trim, we'll kind of talk about the Blazer EV as a whole, but this has got some pretty cool equipment on here. Now as far as battery is concerned, you can do the smaller battery or the larger battery, and you can also get the rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive model as well. Now this one is going to be the all-wheel drive, and if we're looking at peak range for this with the rear-wheel drive, it's going to be about 18 miles more than the Mach-E Mustang. So it's also going to have a lithium ion phosphate variation, so the battery is a little bit different than the standard lithium ion found in the Mach-E. And again, it gets a little into the weeds when you start looking at some of the battery stuff, but just know if you're focused on total range, this one's going to be about 324 when properly configured. Now from there, this one's going to get a lot of that same equipment that's found on the Mach-E. You're going to have parking sensors front and rear, you're going to have that 360 view camera, and as well the RS comes with the 21-inch wheels, which look super cool on this car. So when it comes to charging, what's cool about the Blazer EV, you tap on the side here, and that's actually going to open up this little storage compartment where your charging can be found. Now this can house up to 190 kilowatt hour charging, where you're limited to 150 kilowatt hour on the Mustang Mach-E. That means in about 10 minutes, you can get about 78 miles, where if you're looking at the Mustang, it's going to be about 20 less miles, just because this can take more of a maximum charge. But let's hop back over to the Mustang Mach-E. We'll talk a little bit more about range and charging inside that one. All right, so now we're in the Mustang Mach-E Select, and I'm holding my phone because we do have wireless charging down here and a huge 15-inch display. It really doesn't do it justice on camera. This is a massive display. There's a ton of information, and pretty much everything you do is going to be housed in this display. You're going to have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto in here. You can check all of your different charging capabilities, how much range you have left. There is so much going on in here, plus your navigation, and it's also going to show your backup camera. So there's a little camera button on top, and this one does have the 360 view camera. There's a few different ways you can change to look at some stuff, but it's a pretty cool display. Another thing down here is your climate control. So that remains on screen, and what's kind of goofy is when you start to change the climate control, you can then use what looks like the volume knob to adjust the dual climate control. So that's kind of funny that you can do it both ways, but there's a lot of stuff going on in here, so it would take you a little bit to kind of adjust to get used to it all. But there's a huge storage space down below. That's what's cool about EV vehicles, is that they don't have the standard transmission tunnel. So you've got lots of storage space down here, and it also frees up room in the back seats. So how about the back seats? As far as headroom or legroom, I'm about 6'1", and where I'm driving comfortably, like I said, you do have no transmission tunnel back there, so you can put 5 adults in this car pretty comfortably. Now beyond that, the Mustang Mach-E will have the Drive Select gear knob down here. So you simply just spin this, the vehicle will have that green ready light up on your little display here, and you're off and running. Now it will show you your battery charge as well as the total range on the left side over here, and this is kind of a different display. The Mach-E is definitely kind of like nothing I've seen before, where it's got this skinny little screen here that houses your adaptive cruise control, as well as just your pertinent information like speed limit signs or your miles per hour. So there's different drive modes you can select in here, and there's a ton of safety features. That's what's great about both of these EVs, is they've got the emergency braking, the adaptive cruise, they've got blind spot monitoring in here. So there's a lot of stuff to keep you and your family safe when you're on the go. Now these seats are pretty cool. It's kind of this quilted leather. These are not going to be heated, and it's not a real leather, but it does wear really nicely, I've heard, and it does clean up very easily as well if you got the kiddos in the back. So how about the rear seats? Like I said, plenty of room, but if you're hauling something, those seats do fold down and you do get a lot of cargo space out of this particular model. So what about pricing? Now MSRP starts at $44,795, so it only goes up from there if you're looking at more. This particular one kind of falls in around that $50,000 price range, equipped the way that it is. So let's hop over, we'll check out the Blazer EV. All right, so now I'm in the Blazer EV RS, and again, holding my phone because we've got wireless charging in this model. Now, this one is gonna have Amazon Alexa as well as Google Assistant. It's got the Google Maps built into here, and what's really cool is that you can actually display the Google Maps onto your main infotainment screen here where your digital cluster is. So there's a whole bunch of ways right on the steering wheel here you can click through to see your different miles per hour, your trip computer stuff, any of your battery charging levels. That stuff is really cool, and it's all right in the line of sight. Now this one will also get the heads-up display in the RS model, and it's a very driver-centric cabin. This screen is also huge in here. That's one thing these EVs always seem to have, is these massive screens with all this information. You can click through, see your different charging setup, how you want to charge it to maybe 80% or 100%, and this is telling me if I charge it to 80%, I'll have 326 miles of range. Now from there, this one, like I mentioned, has the 360 view camera, so you can do an overhead view, the side-by-side view, you can click through and see all that cool stuff. Now this one will get standard climate control knobs still on here, so you can control it on the display, or there's actually a physical knob for that, as well as a volume knob up above here. Now there's little buttons below that for one pedal driving. So both of these you can configure to do the one pedal driving, so when you lift, you're gonna notice that heavy braking, and that's gonna help you out to help gain a little bit of range back as it builds up some regenerative braking. Now from there, there's a lot of pretty cool stuff in here. The Google Maps is great. I found the infotainment screen to be very, very quick. It's almost a lightning fast transition there, and everything is pretty simple and standard to figure out. Now on our digital gauge cluster here, like I said, you've got all that information you would need, and right behind this very thick RS heated steering wheel, so you actually can kick that on when it gets a little cold out, and that's gonna be really nice. Now this one, which isn't available in the Mach-E, also has the ventilated seats along with being heated for the driver and the passenger, and then in the second row, you are just gonna have the heated seats back there. So there's USB plugs all over. Like I said, no transmission tunnel, so you get these huge deep storage compartments. And then in the back in that second row, you're not gonna have that transmission tunnel, so you can really fit 5 adults in here. The RS does add a power liftgate, but one of my absolute favorite features in here is the panoramic sunroof up above. It certainly opens it up. I have it closed now because it's so bright in here, but with the darker interior, it opens it up for the kids in the back or just for you driving in here, and is a must-have feature in my mind. So starting price on this one is gonna be $44,975. So if you're playing along at home, that's a $200 difference from the starting price on the Mach-E to the Blazer EV. Yes, then when you configure them and you add more equipment like this RS, you're gonna bump up to about $57,000. So pound for pound, they're very similar. There's a lot of equipment that you can get in each one. The range is gonna be a little bit better in the Blazer EV, as well as the speed of the charging, because you can use that 190 kilowatt, or you can only do the 150 kilowatt in the Mach-E. So if you're looking for a little bit more range, or if you're looking for a little bit different style or size, they're both very similar, but there is a few different things. Maybe you gotta get in and see, oh, do you like the driving position the way this is, or do you like the way the vehicle looks or how it charges? There's a lot of consideration to be made when looking at the EV vehicles, but I think if you're in the market for one of these, you gotta get out, take them both for a spin, and see what you think. Now that was just a quick look at the Blazer EV and the Mustang Mach-E. Now if you'd like more information, or maybe to schedule a test drive, you can visit us online at walser.com or stop by any one of our stores. We'd be more than happy to help. Thanks for watching.